Hi, I'm William Percy, and this is my senior project about making music. My goal is to create a collaborative album with multiple people. I've done collaborative albums before, but they didn't turn out super nice, and ultimately they were more of a stressful experience than a fun one. This is why I decided to produce mostly by myself without any other help. And it's something that I felt like I needed to change. Because I'm going off to college soon, and I really want to study audio engineering, I really need to get the hang of working with other people. To make this collaborative album work, I learned what went wrong from my last attempt and tried to improve on it so that everyone could have fun and creatively express themselves in the way that they wanted. My first idea was for me to take the role of like a project manager. I would create a rough draft for each person, then I would send it off so they could add on to it or improve on it. This meant that no one had to start from a blank canvas and that we don't have to spend hours going back and forth deciding on what we wanted to do. This also gave them the freedom to do what they wanted, but also with a starting structure to go from. Around the same time I started this project, I got contacted by an old friend asking if I could develop a techno-like song for an app he was developing. What I got back to him in the end was a techno / neo 90s / vaporwave type of draft, which he didn't like. However, I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a certain movement to it and had a lot of potential, and I also saw it as the perfect chance to collaborate with someone who I've always really wanted to collaborate with, Skeleton, also known as Jasper. The way I wanted to move forward with this concept was something I felt only Jasper could achieve. I was very familiar with his work, and I believed his style would fit the feeling of what I was trying to go for with this song. Thankfully, Jasper agreed to collaborate with me, and even got his work back to me quicker than expected. What Jasper sent back was completely different from what I was expecting, and so much better. Basically, Jasper being able to capture the same kind of vibe I was trying to go for within my draft. While my draft was definitely more standard and popish compared to his, they both had that kind of neo 90s techno vibe, plus a video gamey type of feel. I was so excited to work with Jasper's sample, and I could have not been more happy with what I got from him. Unlike what I sent to Jasper, what Jasper sent back was composed entirely of hardware synthesizers. He was using the Minilog to get those really awesome dark ambient pads, and then he was using the OP1 for generally everything else. Even before Jasper sent his part back, I already had a lot of ideas I wanted to add on to mine. I really wanted to put something over the drums to make it sound more full, and then I really wanted an arpeggiated synthesizer. Thankfully, Jasper solved both of those problems for me. First thing I did was I sampled my favorite parts from his drums and then added them over my own. And then the second part I did was take the first bar of his synth riff and used it as my arpeggiated synth, with only adding a bit of reverb to make it sound a bit fuller. And I automated that reverb so it kind of sounds like it's fading in. However, I can't let Jasper be the only person who uses hardware synthesizers. The two synths I used was the Pittsburgh SV1 and the Organelle. I used the Organelle to get some much nicer and richer sounding vaporwave type of sounds, while I used the SV1 to get some wet toms to add onto the drum, as well as give the Organelle something to sidechain too. Overall, working with Jasper was absolutely awesome experience. The only problems that showed up were my fault, and that was really because I wasn't communicating enough with him. For example, when I sent him my draft, I didn't give him any specifics, and because of that, what he sent back was in a completely different tempo. However, this was absolutely perfect because it's that tempo change between our two parts that really ties everything together and makes it interesting yet so fluid. The only other problem was the fact that I felt like I didn't get Jasper involved enough in this track, and that was because I wasn't really asking for his input when I was trying something new or just really doing something different for the first time. And I felt like if I was actually asking his input consistently, then we would have created something that would better represent a collaboration between thuserza and Skeleton. However, in the end, the track still sounds really, really good. I'm really happy how it turned out, and it was a really fun experience. The second person I wanted to collaborate with was Croft. Although I didn't know his music too well, I knew he was a very talented beatmaker because I had taken the music production class with him before. However, I had trouble coming up with an idea for the draft I wanted to collaborate with him on, because how I typically start songs is with the beat, the part that I wanted Croft to do. So I thought it would be easier if I created something for him to sample. I created a simple sample using the bits and pieces patch on my organelle and showed it to Croft. I wasn't expecting him to like it, I really just wanted to figure out what kind of sample I could give him that he could make a beat out of. Thankfully he enjoyed it, and while I had a lot of problems during this project, like missing the right tools or CPU problems, the biggest problem by far was the coronavirus. Many people might not expect the coronavirus would affect someone who spends the most of their senior project in a home studio. However, it affected me in the sense that I couldn't bring over people and record them in person. Especially, this was during a time when I was organizing, trying to bring people over. Fortunately, my situation wasn't bad as most people. Another problem I had was with communication. Communicating through Instagram and Snapchat isn't the most effective way of communicating, and a lot of the problems I was having could have been easily solved if they were done in person. The last problem, and the biggest one, was how this affected me mentally. I saw myself going to slumps in and out of slumps, and I also saw that my work schedule on this project was getting very, very inconsistent. Overall, I was just feeling really depressed, and it wasn't a time where I could creatively express myself, especially through music. However, I soon found out that the senior project, both making music and filming it, was taking up enough of my time where I could distract myself from my situation. Going back to the topic of Croft, I had gotten back the individual tracks from him, and everything was sounding super good. Other than some slight clipping issues, I was really enjoying what I was hearing. However, I felt like there was only one thing that needed to be added. I felt like it needed to be dillified. As an international student who came to CFS in his junior year, I didn't really see myself as someone who was particularly close to the Friends School community. Because of this, when I started the Legacy project, I didn't do it for the community, I did it for myself, because I had some unfinished business with my friends before I left the States. I saw this project as a project where I could use it to improve myself and something where I could spend moments with the people who I consider my friends. Coronavirus, or COVID-19, really taught me how much I appreciate my friends and the people around me. While it might seem like the biggest effect that the virus had on my project was the fact that I was unable to collaborate with certain people, I would say the biggest effect it had on my project was the fact that I wasn't able to collaborate with the people I loved before I left. Because of the wild and crazy senior year I had, how far away I was from my friends, and the effect that the coronavirus had on me, I'm not completely satisfied with how this project is ending. Because of this, I want to create an entire album outside of CFS with my friends before I leave the US for a while. I really enjoyed working on this project, and I'm really excited to continue it even after school.